Okay, let's continue with the affidavit. Where we left off is the receiver said, if you end this receivership, it's a wrap. He goes on to say, if this receivership were ended on February 9th and the Weaver parties regain control of the company, I believe the company's monthly losses would be approximately $2 million per month. He puts in an exhibit of the financial analysis done by New Point. I'm gonna get to all the exhibits later because they way down at the bottom of the thing. We still going through his narrative. So $2 million a month if they were in charge. He said from September 1st, 2025 through January 18th, 2026, the company would have likely lost $16 million, approximately $3.2 million per month, had he not been put in place to be the receiver. How would you lose that money when you ain't got none? How was this gonna keep going? He says, furthermore, based upon a correspondence I've had during this receivership, I anticipate that the company would immediately be the defendant in dozens of suits by creditors and shareholders across the country. He says the company is balance sheet insolvent. He says they secured debt from Farm Credit and that now exceeds $110 million. Beyond those debts, the company currently has approximately $54 million in unsecured debt. And that breakdown is $21.9 million in vendor debt, $277,000 in credit card debt, $28 million in notes payable, including the $20 million for Grant Sidney. There's $4 million to Whistle Pig, $1 million to Scarcelli, $1 million to Dash Funding, and $3.7 million loan obligation to Grant Sidney that's carried on the books since 2023. So that's a lot. That's a lot, not even including the $100 million. So the total of debt that he is calculating is $164 million in total debt. So he is saying that the judge has to weigh all that as to whether he feels that the assets are more than $164 million. I mean, I know in someone's mind they can say my company is worth blah, blah, blah. But what is it really worth is the question. He goes on to say that, he retained Arlington Capital Advisors, and despite reaching out to over 100 parties, Arlington has been unable to find a qualified source willing to refinance even the secured debt, much less the total debt. 40 parties did show that they were interested and signed an NDA. The other 60 did not. So from those 40, Arlington received 12 formal written letters of interest in which the bidder expressed a price range that they would propose for the company's debt, except for NextGen 2780, which will be discussed later. No party offered a valuation in excess of the amount of the secured debt. So nobody offered more than 54 million. Sorry, 110 million. Nobody offered more than 110 million. 54 is the unsecured debt. So nobody said more than 110, which would really only make Farm Credit solvent. The rest of the debts would still be there for somebody. So he gets into NextGen 2780. He says he reviewed the proposal. He's unclear whether the proposal is for a purchase of the assets, a purchase of the company, or refinancing of the debt. He's like, it's not a formal offer and remains subject to due diligence. So we up in the air. They have not shown a proof of funds for anything that they're offering to anybody. So Arlington is like, girl, is you in or is you out? Are you for real or not? He says he's aware that NextGen has put out a website that's asking for public investors, which is atypical of a sophisticated investor. And they're like, girl, what is this? What are you doing? What's going on? He goes on to say that the Weaver parties believe that the company should be valued at $500 million, and that is in contradiction to what he has gotten information from Arlington and from Thoroughbred about the spirit industry, this particular company, and the financial data that they've seen so far. He goes on to talk about the fact that the Weavers believe that the Martha's Vineyard property is worth $4 million. He believes it's worth 2.6. So they disagree on that. The biggest valuation disagreement, however, concerns the value of the approximately 56,000 barrels of whiskey owned by the company. The Weavers believe that the barrels are valued at $78 million, or approximately $1,400 per barrel. The receiver previously attempted to market a much smaller number of barrels, 10,000, at a price of $1,000 per barrel, and he received no offers. The only offer he received was for approximately $400 per barrel for less than 1,000 barrels. Therefore, the Weaver's valuation is not supported in the marketplace. So then the receiver, he starts talking a lot about the financials in the Nielsen, and my eyes are glazing over. I'm going to get to the meat of the stuff. He says, the Weaver said, I don't have no experience in running a spirits business. They right. I don't. I recognize this limitation in myself. That's why I called in some experts to do it, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I called in the spirits people to run the shit that I don't know how to do, because I'm a lawyer. I don't run no bourbon business, okay? He said, I leaned on the Thoroughbred people because they have extensive knowledge in this industry, and I go to them to find out what I really need to know. He said they try to blame me for saying stuff is out of stock when I have left Fawn and Kate Jerkins in charge of that, the director of sales in charge of that, since I became receiver. So if it's out of stock, it ain't because of me. I didn't do it. He basically said in October, when the filings all start getting real spicy, he tried to take a little step back and not deal directly with Fawn and deal more with the management team. And that may be why they feel like there's a distance and a disconnect between everybody. But he was like, I didn't want no ethical issues to come up between what y'all doing, what we doing, what everybody doing all together. Because when they got that new attorney and then they tried to file and say that's when it all got messed up. That's when everything started turning to shit. So, or shittier, I should say. So then in December, when things really got spicy and the judge was like, you not their lawyer, they not their lawyer, blah, 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 blah. He told the Weavers counsel, I'm not talking to her. I'm only going to talk to senior management through my consultants, through my through my legal counsel. So it's been a lot going on over there in Shelbyville that we didn't know about. God damn. Okay, I'm about to make this the last part, I hope. But I'm only on page 27 of 65, y'all. Oh, it's too much going on. I got to turn the lights on. It's getting dark in here now.